Tales of the Lore Keeper, Episode 13. I Was Normal. Written, voiced, and produced by Jojo Kaiser. Do you think drowning is a good way to die? I heard it's the most painful. I don't know. It's slow and takes a long time. Well, a relatively long time. Google says it takes about a minute to fatally drown. I thought about all this as I stood over the Golden Gate Strait looking down on it from the Golden Gate Bridge 2 years ago. Up until that point, I had a normal enough life. I had a mom and a dad, a puppy named Roscoe, a little sister I didn't get along with as a teenager, a white picket fence, you name it. I was a C student, and I didn't have any special talents. No extracurricular activities. I had a pizza joint I'd sometimes go to. I had friends, we played video games, rode bikes, complained about school. Like I said, normal. I had first met my ex-wife Caroline in the summer of '97. We were both freshly 18 and on summer vacation down in Hawaii. We had learned that we both lived in San Francisco, on opposite sides of the city, but lived there nonetheless. She was gorgeous. Her eyes were the color of the night sky. She had long, curly black hair, and her skin was this beautiful bronze that almost glowed in the sun, with white freckles that covered the bridge of her nose. She spoke with a slight Spanish accent. Said she was raised in Mexico before her family immigrated when she was 12. I asked her if she missed it. She said she hadn't. That whole vacation I talked with her. We ditched our families to walk along the beach, go to shops and restaurants. We would talk about everything, about our lives, about our families, our interests. I learned her favorite color, her favorite flower, her favorite animal, TV show, movies, books. We swapped stories of things that happened to us in our lives, and it was like living in a dream. And on the last day, I gave my virginity to her. I wish I could tell you, even, that was beautiful. But you know how it is. The first time is always awkward, and she had never done it before either. But it was also kind of fun. As we both kind of fumbled our way around each other's bodies, we laughed, and I almost cried because I was really happy to find somebody that I could trust myself with like that. Before we parted ways that night, we exchanged phone numbers, and we got back to the city. We called and talked as much as we could. We would take the subway to go see each other, and I even got a job at a coffee shop on her side of city so I could be closer. We fell in love over the rest of the year, and by 19, we had moved in together. It was a quiet little apartment on the 5th floor of a massive complex. We got it pretty cheap because it was mostly old people who lived there. We got ourselves a calico cat named Nutters, and once again, my life was normal. I had a normal job at a coffee shop with a normal girlfriend who went to college and had a job as a waitress. We had a normal cat and a normal apartment in a normal city. Everything was normal. Over the next few years, I eventually got a job working construction in the inner city. Caroline graduated college and became a psychiatrist, and we bought a house in the suburbs. It was a powder blue house. Caroline became pregnant with our first son, Michael, and our cat Nutters sadly passed away. By the year of 2008, I had a normal family of my own. A normal wife with a normal house, a normal son, and a normal dog named Zeus. A normal car with a normal job. Everything was normal. As life went on, Caroline had our second son, Matthew. Our normal family grew, and we sold our house to buy a bigger one. Michael was 5 years old, and life was, well, normal. Then, in 2020, the pandemic hit, and our life changed for the worse. Construction slowed down, and the company I was a foreman for shut down for months. Caroline's clients dried up as everyone started staying inside. I remember the stress on both of us. Our kid's not yet old enough to understand what was going on. Michael was 12, but still, he didn't really get it. Caroline and I started fighting a lot. Being cooped up together was horrible. I remember constantly going for nightly drives just to get away from her. It was one of those drives. In the fall of that year, I ended up at a rundown bar on the worst side of San Francisco. I didn't care. My normal life was in ruins. My wife hated me. My kids looked at me like I was a monster. My job had still reopened, and I was scared I was going to lose everything, man. I just wanted to drink and forget. I wish I could give an excuse. When that lady walked up to me, put her arms around my shoulder and her breasts pressed against my back. I don't even remember her name. I was so drunk, I don't even remember what she looked like. But I remember how she smelled. I remember the sweet aroma of lavender and the taste of her cherry-flavored lip gloss. I remember looking down on her as she laid on the bed of that filthy hotel room. I remember her voice. And then I remember bolting awake in that bed, alone, with many missed calls from Caroline as the morning sun shined through the window. My wallet was gone, as were my keys. And I knew when I stepped outside of that shitty motel, I wouldn't find my car either. And I was right. And I was robbed. And I had to call Caroline and admit in shame where I was so she could come pick me up. To tell you the truth, I was surprised she did. I mean, what kind of loser cheats on the woman he loves? I was drunk, but that was no excuse, and worse than cheating, I got everything taken from me. We weren't even done paying off that car yet. The next few months, I did everything I could to make it up to her. Everything to show her that I made a mistake I'd never make again. I don't know if it was the kids or the house or her own kind soul that kept her from divorcing me, but she didn't. When the restrictions finally let up, I came up with an idea. One to hopefully re-spark the love once lost. I booked the whole family a trip to Hawaii. The same place Caroline and I first met. The same resort, the same beach. I even tried to get the same room we had given ourselves to each other in for the first time. And for a while, it seemed to work. Some days we would drop the kids off at daycare and just walk the beach like we did all those years ago. One night, we left Michael to watch Matthew in the room, and we went for a moonlit walk. We talked for hours and hours. We talked about our lives together. We walked down memory lane. We shared the stories and the memories, and it seemed like she had forgiven me. We stopped after a couple hours, sat with our feet in the water, and looked up over at the moon. And I heard Caroline crying. I looked over. I remember my heart dropped when she said the 5 words I had hoped I had never heard. I can never forgive you. I hung my head in shame. She slowly stood up and she talked to me. And the more she talked, the more I felt my head start to buzz. The words she said hitting me over and over again like a constant barrage of blows. about how she was only staying in hopes we would work it out, how she wanted so bad for this vacation to be what she needed, how she wanted to love me again, but the images in her mind of me with some woman she had never met, how pathetic I looked when she showed up to that hotel. She had not only fallen out of love with me, she had become disgusted by me. She said she was really tired, and that she really tried. But she had booked a return flight in the morning, and she was taking the kids with her. And when I got back on my flight the next week, she would not be home. I let her walk away. Maybe I should have chased her. Maybe I should have begged her to stay. Maybe I should have gotten on my knees and cried and given myself to her mercy, just promised anything to make her stay. I just thought it was a bad dream. That surely one night was not enough to ruin my normal life. I stayed on the beach until the next morning, and then until the next night. The moon was full, and at one point I heard singing. A strange, haunting melody. A woman's voice. I followed it along the shoreline. It called to me. At one point, I guess I was just in a daze, when suddenly I heard a man's voice yell out, "Hey, brother, be careful out there." I snapped my head up and I realized I was neck deep in the ocean. The woman's song was gone. Confused and disoriented, I waded my way back to shore, and the man who had yelled out to me came to check and asked what I was doing, and I was so dumbfounded, I didn't know. I took the return flight home. The house was empty, like she said. Turns out sometimes bad dreams are realities, I guess. All her belongings and the kids were gone. I sold the house and found a small apartment closer to my job's home office. They had opened up again, and living in the city was easier on the commute. I had not heard from Caroline in months. I didn't know where she or my children were. I looked for them, of course, but to no avail. Caroline ended up filing for divorce through the mail, and I didn't fight it. I signed the papers. I had to. I couldn't continue to trap her, the woman I love, in a relationship or in a situation that she obviously didn't want to be in. You know, they always say that if you love something, you got to let it go. And I did let it go, and it hurt. It hurt like everything else. One night while I was unpacking, I found a book I had never seen before. It was dark blue with an engraving of a moon. It was heavy and bound in hard leather. I brushed it off and opened it. It was... I don't even really know. The language was gibberish. It had drawn, inked photos of creatures I had never seen, and it honestly gave me the creeps. I decided to throw it in a box to donate to Goodwill. I didn't want it, and even if it belonged to Caroline, I couldn't find her to give it to her. And now, once again, I was normal. I was a normal divorced man in a normal apartment with a normal job and a normal pet fish. I worked normal hours and came home and ate normal meals. And I still didn't know where Caroline was. Sometimes, though, when I'd be taking a shower or sitting by a fountain, I'd hear that strange song again. That woman singing. No one else ever seemed to hear it. But every time, I did. I'd get jolted awake? I guess that's the word. I was never really sleeping, though. It was more like a daze, a hypnosis, and I would be covered in water. One time, the police were called because I was swimming in the public fountain. I don't even remember getting in. One time, I woke up with my head in the fish tank. It was all so bizarre. The second worst day of my life was the night Carol left. The worst day of my life was the day the police showed up at my door. It was a Saturday morning. I was watching old cartoons and going over paperwork for an upcoming project when the knock sounded loudly. I walked over and opened it slowly to see two detectives, badges at the ready. They asked about Caroline, when the last time I saw her was. After I told them I hadn't talked to or seen her for over a year, they said the words that made my heart sink. Well, Mr. Bronson, your ex-wife died last night. Her and the children. Their bodies were found off the Golden Gate Strait. They had been drowned, and it wasn't an accident. My blood went cold. I fell to the ground and sobs started immediately. The detective stayed with me while I cried. They eventually left. I knew why they were there. They thought I was a suspect, and so I ended up back there, staring down into the ocean, ready to jump. I guess as long as I knew Caroline and the kids were okay, I could go on living in hopes I could reconnect with them someday, but now I just couldn't. I'd never get the chance to see my boys grow up. I'd never hear Caroline's sweet voice again. And as I was looking down, the singing came back. And then I saw it. I saw something I'll never forget. In the water, just beneath the surface, was Caroline. But she was huge. I mean, like the size of a whale. I'm not talking about fat. I mean, literally, she was gigantic, like the giants from Bible stories. And she was floating on her back, and her eyes were staring up at me, her hair floating aimlessly in the water. Her body was different, though. She had scales and gills, and her skin was green. And she was the one singing. As the song grew louder, her voice echoed. Come down, John. It's time to join me down here. My hands gripped the railing tight as I lifted one leg up to step it over. I was about to jump. I wanted to jump, but as soon as I was about to, a hand grabbed the back of my shirt and threw me back to the ground with a hard thud. It was the detective. He was talking to me, but I was distracted. I bolted back upright, looked over the railing, looked back down into the water, and Caroline was gone. As was the song. I looked back at the detective as his words came into focus. Doesn't mean you need to kill yourself, son. They'd want you to live on. I blinked at him, and he shook his head. Turns out, I was cleared of all suspicion. My alibi for where I was the night they drowned checked out, but it didn't matter. After I got all of Caroline and the kids' things in order, sold the house she was living in and everything else, I moved out of San Francisco that year. And when I heard about you, I figured my story was weird enough to tell. When I got back from the hotel room I had met Mr. Bronson in, I shifted through the library before finding a dark blue book that had come into my possession around 3 years ago. It was donated to a library in California, and the librarian, a friend of mine, had sent it to me to be deciphered. I had never found the language it was written in, but it seemed to be a book on creatures of the ocean and how to summon them. One page was worn, as if a finger had been run along its surface multiple times. The drawn creature was a woman with scales and was depicted singing a song. I believe I know what happened to Mr. Bronson's ex-wife and his children. It's safe to say that mortals should not be trifling with things beyond their comprehension. For now, I shelf this story, but please learn this lesson. If you scorn a woman who once loved you, stay away from the water. The Lore Keeper is an anthology horror series that I write and voice and produce myself. If you're enjoying the series, it would greatly help me if you leave a like on the video and even comment down below what you like or what you dislike about the stories. It helps me out in the algorithms and helps gets this pushed to other people. And if you really enjoy talking about horror and other things like that, you can join my Discord linked in the description down below to chat with other members of the community. Other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.